Okay, today we have with us Bill Romine from here in Rector, and he's just loaded with information, and I've been wanting to get with him and do this. And so I called him a while ago, and he said, "Well, let's just do it right now." So we're up here with no preparation, and we're just gonna do this and see how it goes. So Bill, how long have you lived in this area?
I've been in this area the biggest part of my life. I was born on Highway 141, north of Boydville, on the very last hill going north. And I started school at a little school out there called Kegley, which there's my first year, and the war broke out. And my family moved to Detroit to get jobs. So we went up there, and about 41, I guess we moved up there. In 43, me and my sister came back to Rector. First time we was in Rector in 1943 and started school on the very old grade school here. Most people don't even know where it was at.
Now, is that the one that was up off of what is that, Pine? Not Pine.
It was yeah.
The next one.
Yeah, it was south of where the football field.
Okay.
Football players field is.
Yes.
And like I said, I started there in the third grade, and I've been in Rector since then. Except when I graduated, I went to Memphis, stayed down there for less than a year, and come back to Rector. Been here ever since.
Wow.
And after I came back from Memphis, I worked for Arkansas Missouri Power Company for 5-6 years. And then I got married and opened my own business, Romine Glass and Trim Shop, for 42 years. And done a little farming during my lifetime. And that's basically what I've done.
So what about your family background?
Oh, my grandparents and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Okay, my maternal grandparents were Toombs. It was Albert Toombs, they called him Bert, and Sarah Toombs. They lived in Clay County all their life, in the country, Rector and Piggott. And my maternal grandparents was Eugene Romines. He passed away very young. He was about 62 years old. And my grandmother was Rachel Romine, and she lived in Piggott before she passed away. And they had lived most of their life in Michigan since World War II.
What about your kids, grandkids?
I married Della Sue Smith, and we have 3 children. We have Vicki Romine, Stephen Romine, and David Romine. And we have 2 grandchildren, Adam Romine and Andrew Romine.
You're supposed to smile when you talk about those grandkids.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they do make you smile.
They do, don't they?
They sure do.
So I know that you have an amazing collection of old Rector pictures.
Yeah.
Because I've seen you post several on the school website. So did you have cameras back in the old days, or you just collected them from family members?
Most of my old pictures came from the family, but I started to keep a camera in probably 50s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's why we do this, is try to keep as much history as we can.
Yeah.
And so I was going to do one every week, but now I'm doing one maybe one a month, or every other month or something. But anyway, it's I'm excited about everyone that I talk to. I learn a lot, and I love to learn about Rector. Although I didn't actually move to Rector until I was 14.
Yeah.
And started my first years in St. Louis, and then moved to Boyceville, and from Boyceville to here. And people say, well, yeah, but you lived at Boyceville. Well, yeah, may as well have been China. You know,
Yeah.
we came to town one time, you know, on Saturday or whatever. But it's very, very, very interesting to talk to you guys. And so I'm going to show you a picture here. People are bringing pictures up here all the time.
Yeah.
We won't show this to these people, but do you ever remember seeing that, anything like that before?
Out in the yard?
Uh-huh.
No, I've seen them in the houses a lot.
Yeah, yeah. This is a picture of I think it's a man in a casket, and it's all set up out in the yard.
In the yard.
Looks like it might be in front of the church.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, it could be church.
Not sure, but anyway, it was in a group of pictures that someone brought, and I keep it laying here. It's kind of interesting to look at. Let's talk about your younger days here in Rector. You know, like we all remember making the circles and
Oh, yeah. Had two drive-ins, you circle one, go the other, and circle it, come back.
Yeah. So when I was a teenager, we would circle around here in front of the funeral homes. At that U-turn, and we would go all the way to Harps, there at the intersection, and that's where we make our circle. Was your circle wasn't that big?
No, there's a drive-in down there, it's where the old across from park.
Oh, it was M&M.
Yeah, but it wasn't M&M. Anyway, there was a drive-in there, and that's where we made a circle.
So are you telling me that drive-in was there before M&M?
Evidently, it was there in the late 50s, I know.
Wow, I can't remember. I never really thought about that. I guess I just always thought that. Yeah, see, I just always thought that Melvin Stafford built that, but maybe not. Maybe there was something.
Maybe it wasn't that big a building. It was just a little drive-in.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And so you make that circle.
You know, you come make circles north end of town, go down to Richards, make a circle, or park and get over to Bear.
Yeah. So, and Richard had the A&W, right, down here, next to where the new pizza place is.
Yeah.
And then you would, how often did you go to the movies?
Oh, probably every weekend.
and so when were you born? What year were you
I
born?
was born in 1935.
35. So the movie actually started the next year. So you were just a year old when it started. And I guess I'm probably not going to find anybody that was here when it started. But so if you were, of course, at driving, you were 16. But did you like come to town and hang around all day on Saturday night, go to the movie?
Biggest part of the day, yeah.
Yeah.
They had two movies. They had a midnight movie during the time too. First show and second show.
Okay.
Cost 10 cents to get in.
And popcorn was a nickel.
Yeah, big bag of popcorn was a nickel.
And soda was
big soda was a nickel.
So you could have 2 sodas of popcorn and get in the movies for a quarter.
Yeah.
Or a candy bar, I guess, a candy bar.
Yeah. No, they didn't have candy.
Didn't have candy? No. Yeah, okay.
Popcorn and sodas, that's what I had at that time.
Well, as my grandkids would say, that was back in the 1900s.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
they was also had another theater for quite a while.
Yeah, across, and I was going to ask you about that, across
from Front Street.
From the little.
Just behind where the City Hall is now.
I haven't actually talked to anybody who went to that.
Oh, I did.
Okay. And someone said that he lived in St. Louis and he would just come down here and have it open when he was here.
No, I don't know about that.
You can't. You don't remember how often it was open?
No, it was open fairly regular.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, in doing these, people's recollection of things are not always the same. and so sometimes we'll get conflicting stories, you know, and maybe this was a second round, or you know, somebody that bought it afterwards.
Yeah.
But I can remember when I was a kid running around on the streets. You know, Saturday we'd get everything done on the farm, and then
Yeah.
we'd come to town and stay till, I guess, whatever, 10 o'clock that night, whatever it was. And I remember that, you know, looking through the doors in there, and the stuff was still there.
Yeah.
You know, when I was a kid, and I was born in 52, so
Yeah.
you know, so that would have been lots years later. It was still there. You know.
Oh, yeah. Seems like they called it the Palace.
The Palace. I think that is what I've heard.
Yeah, I remember the old hotel, remember the train station,
Yeah.
even the old water tank.
Yeah. My mother would get on the train and go to St. Louis every Sunday evening, and she would, you know, work all week, get the train back on Friday, and
Yeah.
stay here for the weekend and go back.
We
And
used
then-
to train going up to Michigan
Uh-huh.
twice, or we went up there and
Yeah.
come back.
But and I heard that the train from St. Louis to Michigan was a lot better ride than the one here was.
Yeah, it was.
It was a lot smoother.
Yeah.
That's what they
The
said.
seats were better, anyway.
Well, my mother and my dad, when they met just before he went to war, and when he came back,
Mhm.
they immediately got married, and so they were sent to Texas. And when he finished his time up, they went back to St. Louis
Yeah.
and worked. And I actually was born here on a weekend when they came back here to visit. I was born here.
Yeah.
And so then my mom stayed here with me for a week, and then we went back up. So I was like 9 days old when
Oh, I forgot to mention, when we first came back, me and my sister, we lived with my grandparents on South Ballard Street.
Okay.
And because my mother and dad stayed up there until after the war was over.
Mhm.
And we come back about a year early.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
spent a lot of time with grandparents.
Yeah. So, did you play any sports or anything?
We played baseball mostly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. In the school, did you play any sports or?
No.
What about band?
I played in a band, yeah,
In the band.
all 6 years.
Mhm.
In fact, that was the first year they had band.
Really?
When I went in seventh grade, yeah.
And let's see, did they still have the city band? Do you remember the city
No,
band?
they'd already disbanded
Okay.
because I bought an instrument from Mickey French, a saxophone, but she was in the city band.
Oh, yes, somebody, not the Vicky French that I know, that's a year older than me. Vicky.
No, I couldn't even say. She's small, and she, her friend was Amanda.
Yeah. Mickey.
Or was that Gibson?
Mickey something, wasn't it? Mickey
Yeah.
French. Yeah. I think it was Mickey French. Yeah.
I was thinking it was, I wasn't sure.
Yeah. And so when did you get on the fire department?
1962.
62. Okay. Yeah, I was 10.
Yeah, I retired in 1982 as fire chief.
1982. Wow. Well, I tell you, it's still going and doing well. Steve told me the other day how many firemen they had, and I was amazed because it's all volunteer.
Yeah.
You know, still getting $10. Was that what you got when you were on there? For a fire, $3. Well, they're up to $10. They can fight a fire all night. I still get $10.
Yeah.
And
Charles Manchester took it over when I retired.
is that right? Yeah. Well, and we lost him yesterday.
Yes, he passed away yesterday morning.
Yeah. And let's see, how about Labor Day picnic? Comments? Were you involved with the Labor Day picnic?
Yeah, we had the kitchen for 3 or 4 years, 4 years I believe it was,
Man, it was a tough job.
in the old kitchen.
Yeah.
We didn't have anything to work with.
That's what my mom and dad worked just several years, and that was a tough job.
Yes, it was.
Tough job. Yeah. For those who don't know, where the pavilion is now was the old kitchen.
Yeah.
They had what, 2 ovens in there, and
Yeah,
the
ovens inside.
and it was so hot.
Right.
There were a few picnic tables inside, but everybody ate outside. It was so hot.
We cooked the chicken stuff outside with big pans.
That's right. I forgot I had a little porch on the back there. Yeah, covered porch. Yeah. But that was a tough job.
Sure was.
No doubt the toughest job down there. And I thought maybe you might have been in with the bunch that did the ducks back in the old days.
You mean the ringing the ducks?
Ringing ducks.
No, Bill,
Romine? Bill Russell.
Russell.
Yeah. But I thought you might have helped him with that. That was
No, we didn't.
That was that became a little controversial. But you know, what was funny is you could watch those ducks. Those ducks looked like they were enjoying it as much as we were.
Oh, yeah.
But had to stop doing that too, you know. So, see, as we go along here, I try to make sure I don't miss anything. But I think at this point, let's talk about downtown.
Okay.
Let's start on that end of town. I don't know across the street from the funeral homes, you know, was the old
Old seed house.
yeah, and then later they moved the library up to the other side, but now before the seed house, you know, there was like a blacksmith shop or something.
Yes, it was. I believe it was a Dowdy.
Yeah, it was my great
It
grandfather.
Sat partially out in the street. There's an old oak tree in front of it.
Really, but that was my great grandfather, and then across the street over here where the blank spot is, there, it used to be the post office or whatever. That was my grandfather on my grandma Pruitt's side. He was a Nutley. You remember him? I can't remember his name. I have a picture. Actually, I have a picture of her, and it said Utley's livery stable.
Yeah.
But she was in a little car, an old like A-model or something.
Well,
She's
that's
like
like 2 mule
3.
barns were.
Yeah. And the Busey's had the mule barn back down 4th Street.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, for years and years, there's some really good history with that.
Yeah.
I need to try to find somebody in that family that would remember something about that.
Right across the street there where Herbie's is, that used to be a vacant lot. And when us and the Boy Scouts, we parked cars there on Saturday night.
Yeah. But I was also told that that's where the circus was set up when they come.
They did, and behind where GC Implement was, they used that lot there too, where the post office is.
Where the post office is now, yeah. A lot of people don't realize that the post office was down the building right behind the city hall, on Front Street across the little park.
Yeah.
Then it moved up to Main Street, and later became Lily Donaldson's flower shop, I think.
I guess.
And then it moved then over to where it is now, across the First Baptist Church there.
Yeah.
So that's the 3 that's been here in town as far as I know.
Yeah.
And the first one was actually the first building erected, you know that? Yeah, it's the oldest building erected.
Which one is?
Where the post office was over on Front Street.
Oh, yeah.
It's the oldest building erected. Yeah. And
Yeah. I remember that, this funeral home, right here, North Main, and the shoe shop, remember?
Well, I got off track. I said I was going to come down through here, but on this side, on the west side of the street, was Mitchell Cemetery, funeral home.
Yeah.
And then, let's see, next to that would have been the second building of Russ's Shoe Store, which has been things like Irby, Butane.
Yeah.
You remember any of those? You remember any of those old names? That was on the street.
Not really. I remember the shoe shop being there.
Yeah, you know, he had two buildings and had a
Seemed like
doorway between them.
Yeah. Next one was paper office, wasn't it?
Uh-huh.
And,
Yeah, and then the next one was Kroger.
yeah, it was what?
Was the Kroger store.
Oh, okay, well.
But it was only there for like 10 years.
I remember it being Calvin's.
Okay, yeah, it was their storage. And I've, you know, the Kroger store that was the first Kroger in Arkansas.
Mhm.
It's the next building north of us here. You know, as you've seen where Dan Thompson's been working on it, he's really got it looking nice. And it's all back original. And that was a dream of Marvin Gatewood's, and he bought all the lumber, and it's all the old full 2-inch cypress lumber. And then Dan took it and did all the trimming. He didn't buy anything else. He didn't buy any more wood. Anything he needed, if he needed any kind of trim, he made it.
Yeah.
And so it's just like it was originally, as close as you could get.
Yeah,
I
so we
should
could
say.
get it, yeah.
And then I don't know. I've heard different stories of what's been in there, but nothing solid.
Yeah.
But
I don't actually remember the Kroger store
yeah,
being there.
well, it closed in '39.
Okay, that's what I don't
Yeah,
remember.
but it moved. My understanding is that and they changed their name and moved down the street, down around where Don Mosley had his first auto parts store, somewhere in that area. Do you remember a grocery store down there?
Used where you used it for a storage building?
No, it was a grocery store.
Yeah, Allstats.
Now, Allstats was on the end, this one.
They started out down there, I think, down by the alley.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
But that's the way I remember it.
That would have been Bill Allstat's grandfather. Yeah. So farther back, and I haven't heard that, but that's why we do these. Is fine. Okay, so in 1952, this building burned. This was Calvin's Furniture. Okay.
Okay.
The next building on the other side of that wall was Irby Funeral Home. And in 1952, this building burned. And if I get this right, the wall, the next morning they came down here and the wall between them had fallen. And so Mr. Calvin bought that side of the building. Now that was in 52. And I think the building across the street where they are now opened in like 1956. So where was Irby's funeral home from 52 to 56?
You know, I don't actually remember offhand.
Yeah, I can't find anybody. I've had one person tell me that they thought they remembered going to a funeral about 2 or 3 buildings down this way, down toward the bank.
Yeah.
But they didn't know if it was Irby
I don't
or what.
remember one being there.
But it would have been like from 52 to 56. They had to have been somewhere during that time, you would think.
I know the first one there was Hardin's.
Yeah, down on the very end.
And then it was
yeah.
DJ King's son's grocery store.
Okay.
And then there was a couple offices there. And, I don't
Yeah, when you were with Artwell Power, that's probably where the office was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the next one was, Jack Clayton had an office in there, and then, Dennis was in there, and the other one.
Who?
The dentist, was it Jernigan or?
Jernigan, and Dr. Blackwood was in the back of it. We're in the process of renovating that one now. We got the front on it, and got a nice display, medical display. I don't know if you've seen it or not,
Earlier than that, Judge French had an office in there.
French.
Mhm.
Okay. You know, there was an attorney, Upton. Remember him?
Yeah.
You know, at one time he was above where Tracy's Beauty Shop is now.
Yeah.
And at one time he was across the street over by the where the frozen food locker was over there. Somewhere in that area, he was in the office there.
You talking about upstairs where they did the band rehearsals and everything?
That was right here. That was like 2 buildings down here, up there.
And it was, what about DJ King's store?
Oh, okay, DJ King.
Yeah, because Everett was the band leader. Everett King.
See, I hadn't heard about the King Grocery. That makes sense.
Mhm.
That, you know, that Mr. King could use that upstairs. You know, I was up there several years ago, and the original blackboard was there. Still
really?
had Mr. King's information written on it about do your wood shedding at home or whatever. And I have it just hanging on the wall up here.
Hadn't been up there in a lot of years.
Well, someone bought it and started putting up walls in it to make it into apartments.
Seemed like they had some skating up there once upon a time.
They had a skating before the band rehearsals, and they had before that it was a juke joint, bar, or you know, a dance hall.
Yeah, when it was wet.
And when you know the door to up there was down on the sidewalk. And you go up that long stairs up there. But in that door, I don't know if it's still there or not, but there was a hole drilled in that door, and it had this little key like thing that you could pull out of the way, and you could look through that little hole and see if one of your friends is in there, you know, if you want to go in, you know. And I'm sure some, back when there was a bar there, probably the Gospels probably went up there to see who was in.
Carl Cook told me one time he got a bar down on Front Street.
Yeah. You know, when I helped with the first few park benches they put down there in the park. You know, they're at the stage, and gosh, we just dug up all kinds of beer bottles.
Oh.
Yeah. So and I understand, and you may, well, you would have been pretty young, but I understand that the first few Labor Days that they sold beer at the picnic.
I don't remember that.
I don't know.
I think the first picnic is somewhere around 1935, 39, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And
I know I got some pictures of parades. I think there was one I got 41 though.
Wow. Boy, we need just, I tell people all the time that we're not a collector here. We don't care to have copies. Just put them in a copy machine and make copies.
I don't see you got the originals.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's okay to have the originals, but we don't. But if somebody has an original that they don't want to get rid of, just make a copy. Take a picture of it. Do something. We just want to make sure they don't get away. You know, because
4 or 5, they were professional pictures.
Oh wow, you know,
Cochran's or Phillips, whatever.
Probably that far back was Phillips. Yeah, and but I have people tell me all the time, well, I've got this, I've got this, I've got that. I guess I need to give it to you because my kids and grandkids don't care anything about it.
Yeah.
But you know, if I die, they're just gonna throw it in the trash. But don't let that happen. Get it to us so we can save it. We got plenty of room upstairs. We can store stuff.
Well, I'll let you make copies and then I can give you the original.
Yeah, we'd love to do that. Yeah. So, anything else you can think of? I know we missed a lot of stuff. But,
Well,
on the other side, we
I remember
can
the 57 fire. I was up there that night.
Oh yeah, tell me about that.
It was
Big. Wasn't
I mean, yeah, busy. Everybody was running over everybody.
So
they had fire trucks here from everywhere, I think.
So then you were like 23 years old? 30, 50?
Yeah.
So did
22.
So you weren't on the fire department yet at that point?
No.
but you saw what went on, and
Oh, yeah.
I didn't ever hear. Did they ever decide what actually caused that?
Not that I know of.
Yeah.
It's just spontaneous, I guess.
A little different back then it is now.
Yeah.
You know. But
They didn't have no way of investigating or anything.
yeah, but it was I'm telling you, it was a huge deal.
Oh, it was.
And you know, I was 5 years old, and probably maybe had just moved back here.
Yeah.
But you know, the dime store went up in it. That was a big deal.
Mhm. Yeah, Tidwell's and, Gravers, wasn't it?
Well, now didn't Ralph Irvin's dad didn't he have a store there, Pruitt's Appliances? And I've seen some pictures of that look like Pruitt's Appliance.
Mhm. May have.
Yeah, I think I've seen some pictures. I can't remember what was in it, but I know it was the old Wolf building, they called it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really nice building. You know, hate that we've lost those buildings. You know, losing the old McNeil building across the street.
Yeah.
You know, we have a washing machine back here that's the old gasoline engine.
Mhm.
That's what they had originally, and they lived back down in the bottom we have down there.
Yeah.
And they said that when electricity came through, that over at Cecil McNeil's, they had the motor that would fit right on there,
Yeah.
the electric motor. So you just come out here and get that electric motor and take the gasoline engine off, plug it in, and
Yeah.
now you had, you know, and then
Swap it out.
he said, and then the kids would use those gasoline engines to make go-karts. Now, nobody knows where the gasoline engines are, you know, so.
Yeah, and I remember back in the 50s, if you wanted to go from one end of town to the other, you got out the street and walked. You couldn't get down the sidewalks.
Because so many people, yeah. I've heard the same. And I can remember when I was growing up, you know, they had the drawing,
Yeah.
you know, and we would, you know, you get everything done on Saturday morning around the farm,
Yeah.
and then usually after lunch you come to town, we call it.
Mhm.
And when you're here in town, you just did
Yeah.
anything you wanted to. I don't care if you're 6 years old, you ran anywhere you wanted to. Nobody thought anything about it. And then you stayed until whatever their drawing was.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember when it was on Saturday night at 10 o'clock. They give $100 away.
That's what I thought. Now if nobody collected it,
They
the
give it away down
next,
at the city park.
yeah, and if nobody collected it, the next Saturday was
Yeah.
200.
Yeah.
And if it got up to $300, $400, $500, you could not
You had
walk
to
with
be
it.
there to get it.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
why there's such a big crowd.
Yeah,
On Saturday night.
especially when it got to $300, $400, $500,
Yeah.
you know, because that was,
That was a lot of money.
oh my gosh, yeah, and you know, and the merchants
Yeah.
pooled their money and did that,
Yeah.
and
Yes, speaking of money, when I got married, 1962, we bought a house on 2nd Street, $4,500,
$4,500.
and the house is still there.
Wow. And how much were you making then?
I was making $1 an hour.
$1 an hour, big bucks.
No, good money.
Yeah. I remember that when my first job, I made $90 a week.
Yeah.
And I was working for Army Doors. Of course, you worked,
Yeah.
you know, 45 hours or 50 hours,
Mhm.
probably 50 hours,
Yeah.
you know. And although I will say this, I loved it. He was like, and they were like my grandparents, you know.
Yeah.
They were really good to me.
But actually, when I bought that house, I wasn't making any money. It was before. I quit my job the day we got married, and I started flashing trim shop the next day.
Is that right? Well, that trim shop was very successful.
Yeah.
What I knew you for, and I guess this was back then. People had their seats reupholstered,
Yeah.
you know, but vinyl tops,
Mhm.
you know, kids today have
Tell
no
them how
idea
many-
what a vinyl top is.
No telling how many I put on.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And you're talking about a car that didn't have a vinyl
Yeah.
top, and you made a vinyl out of it, yeah.
Then they come along a little later after that, they had a carriage top, looked like a convertible.
It had the,
That didn't go over as well because it's too expensive.
yeah, it had all the trim on it,
Yeah,
all the chrome
yeah.
trim, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, we've been talking here probably 40 minutes. But I told you it goes fast once
Yeah.
you start doing
Yeah,
it.
it does.
And what we'll probably do is you'll say, guys, I wish I had talked about this, I wish I had talked about this.
Yeah.
So we'll do this again
I don't think
sometime.
anybody remembers, we had no ice, not ice house, but a frozen food locker
Yeah.
on south end town down there.
We talked about that the other day. Was that Mann's?
Well,
Mann's, was that the name of it?
I don't really remember the
Man's
name of it. I know
frozen food locker.
my stepfather, Jack Clayton, bought that later.
Mm-hmm.
And, till he got rid of the food deal and put in offices in there.
Yeah. Revenue office used to be back in the back of it.
It did.
Yeah. Little bitty old office back in there.
Yeah.
Wasn't enough room for 3 people to sit. So you sat out in the hall and visit till you
Yeah.
call back.
Yeah.
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 Tried to think of some more businesses to
Yeah.
ask you about.
It seemed like it was a Chrysler dealership where the library is now.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. And again, that's, you know, pretty much before my time.
Yeah.
But the building was there, you know, and weeds were all grown up around it, you know. But it still on the other side of it, on the west side of it, you know, still had the big garage doors, you know, that just hung like a barn door,
Yeah.
just slid it, you know. And I can remember that. I can remember Halloween.
Yeah.
You didn't ever do anything on Halloween, did you?
I know.
You didn't turn the eye houses over or none of that stuff, did you? You know, you keep your mouth shut about that.
Nothing but everything else big enough to do.
Yeah, I tell people that the kids just have no idea
The
how
whole
fun
south
Halloween.
part of town didn't have sewers
Mhm.
back then. So we
Yeah.
had an outhouse.
Yeah,
Now, north side, they did have sewer up here.
yeah, but you, if there's somebody you didn't like, that was the time to get back at them. Yeah, that's I try to tell kids about how they don't know anything about having fun on Halloween.
Yeah.
We had so much fun on Halloween, you know. And, you know, and the police, they acted like they cared what we did, but they didn't.
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
We just get a bunch of boys, get to be maybe 10, 12 of us, 15.
Yeah.
And what one could think of, the other did.
Yeah, and you've been all over the top of these buildings, I
Oh,
guess.
yeah.
Yeah, that's, and I told some boys about that one time, and that next Halloween, they crawled up on top of this biggest building over here.
Yeah.
And got caught. And they got away, but they found them up there, and they all jumped down and got away. And so I said, y'all go down to City Hall and tell the police. I said, apparently you forgot when you were a kid, you know, because there weren't very many kids. I was afraid of heights, so I didn't ever go up there, but I may be the only one of my buddies who did, you know, everybody did, and throw
Yeah.
water balloons.
Yeah.
You know, every Halloween, several people got their windshields busted out.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
that was just common.
Throwing everything.
You just knew, if you drove your car out here, you knew that was gonna happen, you know. And the farm kids, they'd bring their dad's farm truck with the diesel. They'd spray that diesel on you. You go home, it wouldn't lather you. You couldn't take a shower for that after taking it. Yeah, we had a good time.
Yeah.
So y'all did some of the same stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure it was worse
Boys
than
be
we
boys.
did. Yeah. Yeah, I know my brothers, you know, they're 5, 6 years older than me. The things they did, you know, were much worse than we did. And I'm sure it as you go back in years, it got worse. You know, because I've heard them talk about putting buggies on top of barns and things like that. Yeah. So, but anyway, but we'll do this again.
Okay.
And you'd be thinking about some things you forgot to talk about.
Okay. I'm sure there's a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll do this again, and I for one appreciate you doing this. And
You're welcome.
we'll see if we can get somebody else lined up to do another one.
Yeah.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Let me get this baby turned on.